This has sparked a lot of interest on drovers.com, a story called 10 Reasons You Should Quit Making Hay. A Missouri Extension State Forage specialist challenging the idea that hay is the cheapest way to feed cattle through the winter, citing skyrocketing equipment costs, the time it takes, the variable quality, and the oversupply of hay. Angie Denton is the editorial director for Drovers. And Angie, you've been writing about this topic, and it's pretty fascinating that it's really caught fire. In fact, you're doing some additional writing.
Yes, Clinton. So we had that article, the top 10 reasons to consider making hay and putting up hay in the for beef producers. And so this week we're taking a little bit deeper dive. I reached out to Carson Roberts, the Missouri University Extension forage specialist, to kind of get a few more tips from him on how to make it profitable for beef producers. We took a look at number 6, which was alternatives to making hay. And he gave me 4 options that beef producers should consider instead of taking that time and those efforts to put up hay. He talked about grazing stockers on that land and how the math he shared said you could save make $200 per acre profit compared to putting up hay by running stockers on your grassland. He also gave options of custom grazing, grazing home raised cattle, and then we went into number 10, which was thinking about winter feeding. Of course, that's when you're feeding hay, is in the winter time. And so he shared 5 options for beef producers to consider to feeding instead of feeding hay. And those include one was using stockpiled fescue, taking the time in May and June to really think about what kind of grass you're going to need and being able to stockpile that so you can use it in the winter instead of having to feed hay. He also talked about research using grazing milo and the profits that producers can find from using that. Of course, corn stalks and other options. But again, he talked about one of the things to remember is you need to also think about when you're calving and what resources you have available to make these options work for you.
All right, Angie. Well, it is hay season, and I know folks are out in the field, so I'm sure this will continue to spark a lot of interest. Folks can read that over at drovers.com. Thanks so much for being here.